Hello, my name is Robin, and this is how to not be sorry anymore. Because I've been sorry for a long, long time now, and I finally let it go. So, step one to not being sorry anymore is to be sorry. You have to be sorry in order to not be sorry. You have to take responsibility for the things that you've done, and what that might look like is not what you'd expect. It's not just going to therapy. It's not just saying I'm sorry to the people that you've wronged. It's understanding why the things that you did hurt people and why they were not only hurtful to them but to yourself as well, because a lot of the things we do that hurt other people spin right back around on us, and a lot of it has to do with us betraying our boundaries or us not having any boundaries because either we weren't taught that or society told us not to do that, which happens to women and young men all the time. And in this conversation, it requires you hold empathy for not only the people that you've hurt, but also for yourself, because it's very easy, and especially in my case, and I know that in many of your guys' cases too, we use that guilt to beat ourselves up. Taking responsibility looks like punishing ourselves for making those mistakes instead of acknowledging that we're also human. Being sorry might take longer than you think. And it also might be shorter than you think. It depends on the gravity of the situation and how you feel about yourself and probably your childhood traumas and where you're at in your life. But you have to give yourself time to move through that. I know that for me, it took many, many years of me being sorry and me not understanding why other folks were not sorry. I had to move through all the stages of grief. I was bitter, I was rude, I was over apologetic, I was mean to myself, I was too nice to myself, I was all of these things, and I had to be those things to become who I am. So when you're moving through those stages, just give yourself a little bit of grace, because you're only human. And if you're watching this, you might live in America and things aren't going so good. So, and we're all just trying to survive. So give yourself some time to be sorry. And a lot of what being sorry can look like is changing. While you're changing, it might be hard to recognize what the next step is. And when you're there and you're confused and you're wondering why you're making the same mistake over again and you thought that you dealt with it and you're not, remember that sometimes life tests us to see if we learned our lesson. And if you're at a point where you think that you aced the test, it might be time to forgive yourself. And I don't just mean saying, oh, Robin, I love you so much. It's okay that you did those horrible things to those people that you loved because you were miserable. It's fine, I love you. No. I mean, that's all good and all. It's okay to tell yourself that you love yourself. I think that's a crucial step in self-forgiveness. But you need to acknowledge the role that you played in hurting those people and why you did those things and what the deeper root of that is. You did the best you could with what you had. And you need to accept that that version of yourself exists. The version of yourself that hurt people you love. The version of yourself that did things that you would never do, you know? Forgiveness is tricky. And like I said earlier, it's easier to beat ourselves up for the bad things we've done than to really look at ourselves and accept that that version of us exists, and it will always be a part of our stories. I wanted to erase her from the map. I did not want to be the villain in these people's stories, because from my perspective I wasn't. I was protecting myself. I was taking care of myself. I was in fight or flight. And that's what I mean by we did the best we could. And it still hurt people. So, like I said earlier, it might take some time to accept that you might be the villain in other people's stories, but that does not have to define who you are now, because you were sorry. You did spend time being sorry, and people can change. And part of accepting that version of yourself that was mean is accepting that that version of yourself still lives in other people's heads. Just like the version of, for example, your mom yelling at you when you were a kid. If you never healed from whatever trauma your parents gave you, the version of them that hurt you is still in your head. And that's the same for your friends and the people you're in relationships with and everybody that you love in your life. You're gonna live in there. And I'm not saying you can't erase. I need to take a deep breath. You can't erase that version of you in other people's minds. Sure, you can apologize. You can take responsibility for the hurt that you caused. You can do everything in your power to change and make it known that you are not that person anymore. But it is ultimately up to them whether or not they move on from that version of you. It is after you've done all that you can do, after you've been sorry, it's time to forgive yourself and to move on. It doesn't mean that you weren't a bad person. It doesn't mean that you didn't hurt them. It doesn't mean that all of that magically goes away. It just means that you did everything that you could to make it right. And now it's on their hands and their heart to change or accept that version of you, or whatever they need to do to move on from that situation. You did the best you could, and it's time to let it go so that you can continue to change. And after you've forgiven yourself, it's time to be thankful instead of being sorry all the time and apologizing and holding on to these hurts and these pains that are no longer part or relevant to your current life. Be thankful instead. Be thankful that that person loved you enough for you to have that explosive goodbye. Be thankful that they heard you out. Be thankful that you protected yourself when you knew you needed to leave. Be thankful that you did the best you could. Be thankful that those people loved you at all. Be thankful for the good times. Be thankful for the times you made memories with these people. Be thankful that you are where you're at now. Be thankful that you get to forgive yourself and move forward. Be thankful that you took the time to take responsibility for your actions. Be thankful that now that you've done that, you get to let it go and you get to move on, and that you don't have to carry these burdens to your grave. Be thankful that you don't have to regret hurting these people anymore. Be thankful that you get to make your peace with these situations. Be thankful, be thankful, be thankful. And I'm not sure where I picked it up, but I heard once that instead of saying sorry, say thank you. When you mess up and you hurt someone's feelings, and they come to you and they say, hey, you really hurt my feelings, take responsibility, say I'm sorry, and then leave the sorry there and say thank you instead. Say thank you for coming to me with your feelings. Thank you for trusting me with your feelings. Thank you for putting effort into this relationship. Because I'm sorry can only take you so far. And reframing your brain to be thankful instead of sorry will help us all eliminate that guilt we feel for existing at all. That's just my opinion, anyways. I've had lots of life. I've had lots of sorries to give, and I've given them, and I really just want to say thank you to anyone who has ever loved me, because I get to live this amazing and beautiful life now because you loved me and because you were there for me when I needed it. And I'm just really thankful to have known you and to be known by you, even if we're no longer together. Some people just aren't meant to be, you know. There's all sorts of stuff that adds up. But anyways, thank you. And I love you. Can you tell that I'm a Pisces? I'll be sentimental. Leave your story in the comments. I would love to hear it. If you have something that you're sorry for and you just can't seem to let it go. To be honest, it took me a couple years. So, thanks for watching. Bye.